Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Ever stop to think about how much one invention can change literally everything? Today, we're diving deep into a wild thought experiment. What if the airplane was never invented? Imagine a world without the miracle of flight. How different would our history books look? How would world powers operate? What would our daily lives be like? Would global connections even exist as we know them? It's a huge question, and we're about to explore the fascinating possibilities. Get ready to have your mind blown as we journey through an alternate timeline where the sky was conquered. First up, let's talk politics. Without airplanes, national borders would feel far more imposing. Empires might have grown differently, relying on slower, sea-based or land-based travel for expansion. Think about rapid military deployments or diplomatic missions. Without air travel, major international crises would unfold at a snail's pace. Leaders couldn't hop on a jet to meet face-to-face in hours. It would be days, even weeks. This could lead to more localized conflicts, perhaps fewer global interventions. The balance of power would shift drastically. Countries with vast coastlines and strong navies would gain immense strategic advantage, while landlocked nations might struggle for influence. Could we see more regional hegemonies rather than truly global superpowers? National sovereignty might also be more fiercely guarded, as external influence would be harder to project quickly. Global alliances might form differently, too, perhaps with greater reliance on shared economic interests over immediate security concerns that air power currently facilitates. The UN, as we know it, would struggle with its peacekeeping missions, needing vastly more time and resources to deploy forces. Even intelligence gathering would be profoundly affected, relying on older methods without aerial surveillance. Now, let's soar into the world of technology and science. The invention of the airplane spurred incredible advancements beyond just aviation. Think about metallurgy. Stronger, lighter materials were needed for aircraft. Aerodynamics, a whole field of study born from the need to understand flight. Without the airplane, many of these parallel innovations might have been significantly delayed or never developed in the same way. What about computing? Early flight simulations and complex calculations for aircraft design contributed to the birth of powerful computers. Rocketry, initially developed with military applications in mind, but also benefiting from aerodynamic principles, might have taken a completely different path. Space exploration, which owes a debt to both rocketry and the underlying scientific understanding of atmospheric flight, could have been pushed back by decades, if not centuries. The space race, a monumental driver of scientific progress, might never have happened, or at least not in the dramatic way we remember it. Would we even have satellites? The global communication and GPS systems we rely on every second wouldn't exist without the foundational science and engineering that began with flight. Our world would simply be a less connected, less technologically advanced place in many areas. But what about society and culture? This is where things get really interesting. Imagine a world without cheap, fast global travel. Vacation spots would be far more localized. The concept of a global citizen would be much rarer. Different cultures would remain more distinct and isolated, with less intermingling. Migration patterns would be drastically different, likely slower and more challenging, impacting demographics and cultural diversity in many nations. Our understanding of the world, our geography, would be shaped by what we could reach by land or sea. Foods, fashion, music, cultural trends would spread at a snail's pace, or perhaps even originate differently. Even our daily routines would feel different. Long-distance relationships would be incredibly difficult to maintain. Business travel would be an arduous affair, making global corporations harder to manage. The very concept of time zones might feel less relevant if everyone was so tied to their local region. Rights movements and global awareness campaigns would struggle to gain momentum without the rapid spread of information and people. Think about how much information and understanding travels through human connections forged across continents. All of that would be severely limited. So, let's zoom out to the global consequences. The world without airplanes would be a more fragmented, less interconnected place. Economic globalization, as we know it, would be impossible. Supply chains would be entirely dependent on sea and land routes, making them slower and more vulnerable. Trade would still exist, of course, but the speed and volume would be dramatically reduced. Diseases, while perhaps spreading slower globally due to less travel, could also be harder to contain once they reached a new population, given the lack of rapid medical transport or global coordination capabilities. Our collective response to global challenges like climate change, poverty, or pandemics would be severely hampered by the inability to move people, resources, and ideas quickly across vast distances. The sheer scale of global cooperation would be diminished. Ultimately, without the airplane, our world might be more regional, less global, and arguably less unified in its response to the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. It's truly mind-boggling to think about, isn't it? From political landscapes to the very fabric of our societies, the absence of the airplane would have left an indelible mark on history. We'd be living in a world of slower connections, different power dynamics, and perhaps a less unified human experience. It makes you appreciate just how revolutionary that first flight truly was. What are your thoughts on this alternate history? I'd love to hear your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed this thought experiment and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next deep dive into history as what ifs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.